How many of you like to travel or want to travel? Oh, a lot of hands. Me too. 8 years ago, I moved to Japan for an internship. I spent 2 months there, went back home for a bit, and then I returned to live there full time. I had a rough start at first. Many nights of loneliness, trying to date around, find friends, not really feeling like I fit in all the time. But then I met this woman who has now become my partner, and through our relationship, I began to see her and the Japanese culture in a whole new way. We had so many similarities in passion and love for each other, and yet we had so many differences in the customs and cultures and communication styles from where we both came. I remember a time where she bought me a very expensive watch for my birthday, and I didn't want the watch. I already had one. I didn't want to have more stuff, or for her money to be wasted, so I asked her if I could return it, and she was so offended. And we had to spend a lot of time understanding what gift giving meant to her. And I had to open my heart to understand that. Just recently, we had a conversation about the entryway of our home. I wanted to keep a few things by the door, but she wanted it as empty as possible. I just couldn't understand why she cared so much until I realized that she cleans the entryway every morning before I'm even awake. And from that, I learned the importance in Japanese culture of keeping a clean entryway and how it brings good luck into your home. And that opened up another place for us to come into more understanding of each other, and I was happy to move my stuff. I want to invite you into the possibility that you can find deeper connection, appreciation, knowledge, and growth through your relationships with people who think differently than you do. You see, it sounds easy to respect someone, but to do that while you're living abroad with people from a different culture is actually a very challenging thing. It's easy to respect someone from your hometown. It's easy to respect someone who has similar beliefs and values as you. It's easy to respect someone who comes from the same cultural background as you. But when you go abroad, it forces you into a position where your thoughts and viewpoints of the world will begin to clash with those of the other. And that pushes you up against this doorway of respect in the deepest way possible and opens up this place in your heart where meaningful connections can occur. And we can learn new ways of thinking, new ways of living, which we might even find resonate more with us. I love supporting people in being able to understand how to move through this process of deep respect with compassion to come into more meaningful relationships. And so, here's what's possible for you and the world. When you experience relationships abroad, or even apply the learnings from being abroad into the more difficult relationships in your life, what's possible is a deeper understanding and more meaningful connection to not only each other, but to yourself and the world around you. Here's how you can get started. I want you to think about one person in your life. Maybe you're already living abroad, or you've had the experience of living abroad before. Or if you haven't been abroad, then with somebody who feels like they're from a different country, someone who you may not understand so easily. It could be a family member, your partner, could be a friend or coworker. And I invite you to sit and write down and map out your own core beliefs that drive you and the core beliefs of this person. I'll give you an example of me and my partner. I come from an American culture, which is very individualistic. Be yourself, get off my lawn. She comes from one that's very group-oriented. The tall blade of grass gets cut down. Don't rock the boat. She comes from a culture where you don't really bring things up, and you kind of just put up with stuff in relationships and go for harmony. I come from a place where you talk about things, and you bring it up, and you have the difficult conversations. Just looking at this map of things gave me a perspective to build the bridge to understand how to respect my partner more. And in the process, not only did I connect more with the Japanese culture by creating this beautiful partnership, by finding amazing friends, by having great coworker relationships, and thriving in my journey abroad without losing my individuality or my personality, I found the way to connect into that deeper part of my heart, where meaningful relationships can exist through that doorway of respect. And the most amazing part is that all of this experience of living abroad and opening that doorway of respect has allowed me to translate that into more compassion, more empathy, and more respect for every person in my life, including my mom and my friends right back here at home. The last time I went home, I decided to stay at her place for 2 weeks, and I found that it was easy. So I invited her to come visit me in Japan for 5 weeks. and we ended up extending it to 6. I felt so grateful that I found the patience and compassion I was missing, and we had a beautiful time exploring this new land together and just hanging out. So, my wish for you and the world is that more of us can begin to cross culturally experience and recognize the depth that we each bring to the table. Even in online spaces, on social media, it might feel like someone is coming from a different world, even though they're just down the road from us. Because even though we may have different values, communication styles, or customs and cultures, none of them are wrong. They're all valid. And by facing these with courage, we can open up that door of respect in our hearts to come to that place from which we can create and experience more deeper and meaningful relationships. This has revolutionized my life, not only by reducing the stress that I was experiencing of having to manage my relationships, but now allows me to fall into a place of relaxation and gratitude for my journey and for others' perspectives. And so I leave you with this. There's a person in your life that may seem like a very difficult, challenging experience that you have to deal with every day. But instead, I invite you to look at that person as your guide to a doorway, the doorway of respect, to open up a place in your heart where you can experience a deeper, more meaningful relationship with not only that person, but with every other person you come into contact with. Thank you so much. I'm Alex Feldman.